Hello everyone, I am back today with another video. This is going to be another ranked game. This one will be against Papa Bear 20. This is someone that I've played a few games against recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last few months. I know that I won them all, but I don't remember exactly how they went, and I don't remember if I recorded them for YouTube either. But either way, slightly positive ratio, and a little bit over 5,000 games. So I'm not sure if I should expect an all-out blitz or if I should expect something a little more or a little less aggressive, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so I'll just leave that scout there. I always want to encourage my opponent to advance in the center when I have this set up. And it looks as if they will be inclined to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and scout that, Sergeant, okay? So, 2 front row captains so far. I'm going to go ahead and use another scout here, even though that's 4 scouts. Okay, so we're going to trade that off. So we know 2 captains, Sergeant here. I'm going to put that right there, just in case that we trade captains. They can't fly a scout down and take my spy. I'm going to move up my captain like that, and just leave that there. But they seem to be moving some of these pieces back here. Okay, well, I'll take that. That's easy enough. Would have been better for them to just trade, but that's fine. Let's do that. Okay, I'll go ahead and trade that off. So I netted a sergeant out of that. As I was saying, they seem to be moving their pieces back and allowing the sides to move back and forth as they wish. So that's just interesting to note that they might have good pieces here on these areas, and they might need him to go towards the center. I'm going to leave that there. Not really worried about that. Alright, so I think my colonel in the center is fine there, but I might want to move the miner over, just to give a semblance of protecting it. Alright, so I'm trying to figure out what I should do now. I guess it might do me well to advance on this left side. I know that they have a captain here. We've traded the sergeant, or I took the sergeant, and we traded the captain in the center there. Alright, so I'm going to bring up both of these captains, and I'll probably just leave that there. Maybe they'll hit me or something. I'll hit that. Okay, that's a bit annoying because that might be a major sitting here, guarding lieutenant. But no, we'll trade, so I'll go a bit further, get an extra piece, minor, expecting to be taken now for sure, with the general. So that's very good info then. That means I'm going to want to bring out a major. Also, I'm probably going to want to bury my marshal, just so that it's not obvious, because if I leave my marshal sitting there and I keep it there on their general side, they might get a little suspicious. So I'm going to go ahead and bury it. I'll take that. Okay, just a scout. Would have liked more, but that's fine, I'll take it anyway. And I'll take this piece too if they advance on me, because I don't think that's a colonel. Yeah, that was a bad bluff. It wouldn't make sense to have your general there and then also bring out a colonel. That's a bit annoying. Hopefully they just move over as well. Okay, good. There's no way they call this bluff. That would be ridiculous. So look, if I do that, well, that's really annoying. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. Let's do that. I'm just going to give him the major and maybe be able to take the general later. Wow, that was not a good series. Okay. Well, there you go. That did not turn out well. Maybe I could have handled that better, but that's pretty annoying that they would just waltz in. I think that's a part of your silver player mentality of just coming in and taking whatever with no regard for what this piece might be or what that piece might be. And I think you saw that when they took my scout, which they seemed to think was the marshal, and then just took it anyway. I think the better play there is to take the scout with the sergeant. But here's the general and here's the scout. I'm going to put my marshal on this column here. Let me bring over my minor. I don't want to make my marshal obvious. I think if I can not arouse too much suspicion, but keep my marshal there, I think that's beneficial. So I am down a major and a captain, which is not very optimal. Here's the general. Let me try to run up the side with my minor and see what they do. I'll take that. Bomb. Okay. So we have general here, and there's a captain. So now let me try to run up with the marshal and see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to leave that there. Alright, I'll just put the marshal back where it was. Here's the captain that we know. They're shuffling the captain here. We have general, probably spy. Not sure what this piece is. I'll just hit that and see. Scout, okay. So they'll likely just take with the general there. I'll move the colonel up. It's kind of an aggressive move. And I'll move it back. Okay. Alright, this is my last scout, though I don't know if I want to use it like that. I'm going to come up with a minor and try to explore on that right side. But we know general, captain. If my general wasn't so far away, I might try to bring the general up, actually. I think that might be an appropriate move to get a captain back if they let me to do so. Because that's a captain. I'd like to hit that with my general. They seem to be just shuffling around and not doing anything with their advantage, which is a lot of times what happens with these one-dimensional players. Okay. I'm banking on the fact they're not going to hit that colonel. I don't think they will. That wouldn't really make sense for them to do that. Okay, very good. Hopefully the marshal's not sitting here waiting for me, because that would be really annoying. Okay. Well, that is almost certainly the spy. I would say with, like, very high probability that's the spy, and there we go. I'll go ahead and take that spy. See, hitting with the scout there doesn't make sense on any level. I'm gonna think that's not the marshal. Okay, trade colonels, I figured. I didn't think they would have the marshal so far away, but having a colonel there would make sense. Okay, I'm just gonna leave what we have in the center here. I think that's pretty well constructed. Down a major, up 2 lieutenants, and up a spy. So let me come around with, well, that is my last scout. I don't know how I feel about that. Minor. I'll use a sergeant and we'll just hit that. Major. Alright. Good to know then. I'm going to pressure here, maybe get some info if I can. Well, there's no reason to not take that, because my colonel is known. I'm down a major anyway, and there's the marshal info. See, that's a really good trade for me, because I was down a major, and I didn't know the marshal. Now I'm down a colonel, and now I do know the marshal. So that's only beneficial for me to take that, because it just transferred which piece I was down, and I got extra info. Okay, so we know marshal here. Unknown piece came from back here. I'm not sure where I would peg the second colonel to be. I'd like to get him to waste some pieces, maybe trying to discover mine. I'm going to do that. If they move one more, the only reason I didn't take it then is because if they move the marshal, I wouldn't be able to move the major back again because of the 2-square rule. But if they move down again, then I will be sure to take it. That's definitely not the colonel sitting there isolated, alone, on the right column. So I'll leave that major there. At worst for me, it'd be a trade. At best, it'd be them wasting a piece to find my major. Perfect. That works for me. I'm going to keep pressure on him, though, because I don't want him to allow him to... I don't want to allow him to, like, corner any of my pieces with Marshal and Colonel. So I do need to be a bit careful about that. Okay. That's a bit annoying, but I wasn't willing to take that risk. I think this is the Colonel now, though, as a result of that. Like I said, that is a bit annoying, but I wasn't really willing to take that risk to, like, go for it, and really just, I wasn't ready to hit that with my major, because it could have been the Colonel who was sitting right here. I think this is the Colonel. Okay. Let's do that. If he lets me, I'll hit it. So we know Marshal, probably Colonel. I'm thinking this is the Major. I don't think he'd have 2 Colonels on this side, so I'm leaning towards this being the Major here. But right now, I'm liking my Marshal position. Just pretty, you know, just sitting there pretty unsuspiciously. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit that. Okay, Sergeant. And then when he takes with the Marshal, I'll take this piece as well. So that way I'm up 2 lieutenants, but I'm going to be up 2 pieces more instead of that one. Actually, I'm going to get that lieutenant back. That is perfect. Basically, I just gained a sergeant from that, and I didn't lose anything at all. So that was an excellent trade, no doubt. That's fine. That doesn't really help him at all. It only reveals a piece unnecessarily, I would say. It's also his 3rd minor. So I'd say, based on how we're looking right now, I think I'd be able to overpower him. This is the major. If he moves down again, I'm just gonna hit it. Okay. So Colonel, Major. One thing I don't like is his last scout. I'm not a fan of him having a last scout here. But Colonel, Marshal, Major. So here's his major now coming to try to threaten my piece. I'm going to want to draw my major to this side to prevent that. Okay, so Marshal, almost certainly Colonel, probably Major. I'll take that. If this is the Colonel, then that's kind of horrible, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Perfect. I did not think you would have another Colonel here after having a Colonel here. That wouldn't make sense, especially on the non-Marshal side. So I was quite confident that was his Major, and I was willing to hinge the balance of this game on it being his Major. Now I think it's time to get my Marshal involved. At worst, I get his last scout, or maybe his last sergeant too. Alright, well that was an easy kill. He didn't know that, Captain, but that's his Colonel here. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that's the Colonel by now. Colonel, I think it's pretty certain by now. I think I can just regard it as the Colonel. I don't know which one's the Captain. I'd be more inclined to think it's this one, because he had a Major here. It would make sense to have a Captain behind if he's storing good pieces back here. Here comes his Colonel now. Don't expect him to call that bluff at all. This is going to end badly for him. Oh yeah. So, my bluff was successful, and I will net 2 pieces out of that, his Colonel and his Captain. And that's definitely going to be the end. It's a bit annoying because I have to move my spy this way. But that's fine. That'll work. And that'll definitely be the end. I just was fooling him as to my Marshal's identity. I bluffed him on it being the scout, and it worked, and that's what led to the win. So, very good, very happy with that win. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.